Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Morning Musings. I might say, welcome back, Dawn, to Morning Musings. Happy Monday morning, everyone. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. And I've got to say, it's just really, really good to be back with you. For the last 2 weeks, I've had another really bad respiratory infection. My doctor initially said that it was, just allergies. Well, I am allergic to mountain cedar, and on the backside of my property, behind me to the north, there is an entire row of mountain cedars. That's one of my worst allergy agents. And 2.5 weeks ago, I got out and trimmed a whole bunch of limbs that were growing over onto my property so that I could actually get back there with my pickup and what have you. And I didn't wear a mask or anything like that. I just, cut the limbs, carried them out to the side of the road. We have what they call Operation Pride, where they come by to pick up all that kind of stuff. And, the next day or two, I started feeling a tickle and I started sneezing and my nose started running so much. And my wife said, concerning my nose running so much, she said, well, if there wasn't so much of that junk, I think it was brain fluid. Huh. Wonder what that meant. Well, anyway, and then it just kept getting progressively worse and worse and worse. The cough developed. I still have a bit of a hangover on the coughing. Obviously, I'm much better. So anyway, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And the doctor said she still thought that it was allergy related, but it has gone into something else. Well, long story short, I'm very thrilled to be back with you after a full week of hiatus. And so I want to pick up where we left off a week and a half ago in regard to Isaiah chapters 2 through 4 and the prediction of the war in which Israel's men would fall by the edge of the sword. Now, let me make an observation that is very important. And that is that this terminology of Israel's men falling by the edge of the sword is, as one scholar called it, a Hebraism. Okay? No question about that. Israel's men fell by the edge of the sword at different times in Israel's history. During the time of the Judges, during the time of Isaiah, during the time of Jeremiah. So just the statement of Israel's men falling by the edge of the sword does not within itself prove anything. However, this is what's critical. Perhaps I should have pointed it out earlier. But in Isaiah 2 through 4, we're dealing with the last days, day of the Lord, when men could run to the mountains, hide in the caves, cry to the rocks, fall on us. And it would be in that, the war, as the terminology of Isaiah puts it, the war of the last days, day of the Lord. It would be in that last days, day of the Lord, that Israel's men would fall by the edge of the sword. Now, let me reiterate a point that I've made earlier. Okay, I'm not going to belabor this, but it's extremely critical. In both the amillennial and in the postmillennial world, we are told that God was through with Israel in the Old Testament at the cross. Well, okay, Isaiah 2 through 4 is dealing with a time period, number one, the last days, which amillennialists and postmillennialists tell us is the Christian age. Okay, it's not the last days of Israel. It's not the last days of the Old Covenant age. No, it's the Christian age in its entirety. But God was supposedly through with Israel at the cross, through with the Old Testament at the cross. So the great question is, since Isaiah 2 through 4 is dealing with a time period after the cross, okay, And it's dealing with the last days, and it's dealing with the last days day of the Lord, in which Israel's men would fall by the edge of the sword. Why is Isaiah concerned with the fate of Israel in the last days, which is ostensibly the Christian age, if God was already through with Israel at the cross? Do you see the problem here, folks? This is a massive problem, and I don't see any amillennialist or postmillennialist, for that matter, substantively dealing with this. Now, there are some postmillennialists who agree that the term last days is a reference to the last days of Israel that came to an end in AD 70. Okay, that's great. But all they've done is create a whole new set of problems for themselves. But to move on, I've been sharing with you that here is Isaiah chapters 2 through 4, predicts the last days, day of the Lord, in which Israel's men would fall by the edge of the sword, and it would be the time of the vindication of the martyrs. Isaiah chapter 4, verse 4. This would be in the day of the branch of the Lord. Isaiah 4, verse 1. In that day, the branch of the Lord shall be glorious and shall be beautiful. This is messianic, obviously. So in the last days, day of the Lord, it's the time of the manifestation and the revelation and the coming of the branch of the Lord to do what? To vindicate the martyrs. Not talking about the incarnation at all. It's the last days, day of the Lord for the branch to vindicate the martyrs. I've shared with you how this prediction of the last days, day of the Lord, to vindicate the martyrs is picked up in 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, we're coming back to that, and in the book of Revelation. In Revelation chapter 6, the martyrs under the altar cry out for vindication. They cry out for vengeance against their persecutors. They're told they only have to rest for a little while until what? Until their fellow brethren, who should be slain as they are, should be filled up. And then comes the great day of God's wrath, which would be the time in which, in direct fulfillment of Isaiah chapter 2, 9 and 10, Isaiah 2, 19 to 21, men would run to the mountains. They would hide in the caves and cry out, "Fall on us," and hide us from the great day of God's wrath. Isaiah chapter 2. Now look, folks, if you're going to say that Revelation chapter 6 is about some future event, then you've got a severe problem. That means that Revelation chapter 6 is the day of the Lord foretold by Isaiah chapter 2, but the day of the Lord of Isaiah chapter 2 would be the time when men could run to the mountains, hide in the caves. That cannot be an end of the Christian age, end of the Messianic age, if you want to use that terminology. It cannot be that event in which supposedly the earth and the elements that are therein shall be burned up. Remember? Can't be that. So Isaiah chapter 2 would be fulfilled in the great day of God's wrath to vindicate the martyrs of Revelation chapter 6. Then, Revelation chapter 16, in the impending judgment of Babylon, the city that killed the prophets, and remember, no other city in all of the Bible is ever identified as the city that killed the prophets. But at that great day of God's wrath, the kings of the earth come from the east. The Euphrates River is dried up. And, by the way, Peter Leithart makes a really great observation in his 2-volume commentary on the book of Revelation. If you say that the book of Revelation is about the fall of Rome, okay, well, Revelation has these kings of the earth coming from the east, crossing the Euphrates to destroy Babylon. Well, wait a minute. The forces that destroyed Rome in 476 AD did not come from the east and cross the Euphrates to the west to destroy Babylon, i.e. Rome. Didn't happen. Totally different geography. But to move on. So Revelation chapter 6, great day of the Lord, to avenge the martyrs, fulfillment of Isaiah chapter 2 through 4. Revelation chapter 16, the great day of God's wrath, the great day of God's wrath, Revelation chapter 6, is the time of Armageddon, when the kings of the earth would be gathered together for the war. Well, what the war has Revelation already mentioned? Oh, the great day of God's wrath of Revelation 6 in fulfillment of Isaiah chapter 2. There is this beautiful, harmonious linkage. And in the discussion of the last days, day of the Lord, for the vindication of the martyrs. Again, as we have already seen, Isaiah chapters 2 through 4, 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, Revelation chapter 6. Now, in tomorrow's video, we're going to be looking at Revelation chapter 19, verse 19. So here's your assignment. I hope that you will go to Revelation chapter 19 and read the entire chapter. Not just verse 19. Read the entire chapter. Because I want to spend some time setting the context for the war of Revelation 19:19. And yes, in the Greek, it is definitely the war. At least according to the Greek manuscripts that I have. All right? So, once again, welcome back to Morning Musings. Thanks for joining me here this Monday. And don't forget, I discuss all of this and a whole lot more in my book, Who is This Babylon? Go to my website, order the book, make mention that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I'll refund your shipping. And don't forget, the rest of the month of November 2022, U.S. orders only. I've got a fantastic 3-book offer that's going to save you well over $20. So don't fail to take advantage of that. In the meantime, thanks for joining me. I'll see you on the flip side.